Never don't let we cannot falter in the battle. We're tried and true. Indiana, we're all.
Button, Steve. Welcome, everybody, to the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the GrillingTruth.com, Grilling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Of course, we have former Indiana legend, Steve Risley. And Steve, we finally get to a different show. They won the game. They were well coached. There was nothing to bitch about last night.
I'm at a loss. We're in uncharted territory, Mike, this season. I don't know how to start this show. I got nothing negative to say about last night's effort. The only thing I can say negatively is where has this been the whole season? Because this was the Indiana team I think we all thought was coming. We wanted to see there was unity. There was proper coaching. There was 40 minutes of effort. There was teamwork. I couldn't. I was sitting there watching this game. Go, okay, something negative is going to happen here. They're going to blow this 18-2 run and go back to the second half, and Michigan State's going to be up by 15 halfway through. And dad, gummit, this team just showed heart, guts. It's. They created what I'm going to call a dub right now, and Dockage and all those idiots can pick up on it. The chance to dance. It's a slim chance right now, but by winning last night, they created a chance to dance. But not only is that important, Mike, all the things that happened around them. I mean, look, Purdue got beat. We got to play Purdue. UCLA got beat. They come in Friday. They didn't look strong at all. I watched some of that game. We've already gotten through Michigan. We beat Michigan State. All of a sudden, our pathway got just a little bit easier, I think, last night, in the sense these teams still are tough, but they look beatable. And it's got to give the way IU played last night and the courage that maybe they found last night and the poorness of the way some of these teams are playing right now. There's a chance to dance. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and last night I think what we saw was a well-coached game. Okay, well, I give it to him when I think he sucks. I will give it to him when I think he did a good job. And we saw, Miles Rice, Malik Renew were both benched. Both came off that bench. Both played extremely well, especially Renew, who led the Hoosiers with 19 points and 12 rebounds in 29 minutes. And the other thing that was a huge game changer, this is something I was asking for last year but never got, so I gave up on it. Indiana came out and played a zone defense. And the zone defense against Michigan State made it not as bad for Renew and Ballo to be on the court at the same time. Right. Michigan State is the team least likely to shoot a three-point shot in the Big Ten. They don't shoot the three well. And I think the 2-3 zone, we saw the start of the game, Indiana fell behind, 18-8 right away. But then as soon as they went to the 2-3 zone, the game flipped completely.
Yeah, I mean, you've harped about the fact that Renew and Ballo can't be on the court starting together.
They can't at the same playing man, but they can't.
We don't start Renew. We don't start Renew, and there are two most productive players: 14 points from Ballo, 10 rebounds, 19 points, and 12 rebounds out of Renew. You separate those two guys out a little bit, get them, just letting them establish their own territory in the game. And look at the effort we got, and look at the win we got. I mean, it's a damn shame it's taken up to the last 6 games of the year on what, just might have been a game-changing season in many ways to figure this all out now. I mean, our shooting was good. We took good shots. We shot 48% from the field as a team, 71%. We hit free throws like crazy down the line. When they kept fouling us, I'm thinking, oh crap, here we go. And we down the stretch we made free throws. But I think the key, Mike, is what you've been harping on all season, is separating Ballo and Renew. I hope he doesn't start Renew the rest of the season.
Well, I think
he hadn't been this productive since playing against Marion College.
Well, see, this is the thing. Playing the zone. Against Michigan, they played the zone in the second half, and they came back and almost won the game. They only gave up 21 points. Last night, down 18-8, they go zone. They outscore them by 14 the rest of the game. So hopefully this is something that we kind of stick with, because you got UCLA up next. UCLA kind of the same way. They don't shoot the three ball really well, and they're a team that wants to play a slow pace. Let them play the slow pace, because if the game's slowed down and you're playing zone, forcing them to make shots, number one, Ballo is not in the greatest shape in the world, neither is Renew. And by playing zone, they're going to be fresher late in the game. And I think as a team, when you play zone, you're a little fresher late in the game. And I think that's why free throws came much easier for this team last night, Steve. I think it had something to do with it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I can't disagree with you in anything that you said. All what you said last night just came to fruition, and it ought to be a wake-up call for all the people that listen to us, and maybe even for the coaching staff, that you know what the hell you're talking about. And, you know, I consider you a football coach. God,
this is my favorite show ever so far, Steve. Keep it up.
You what?
It's my favorite show we've done so far.
Well, I got to give credit where credit's due, Mike, just like we say the same thing about Woody. I got to give it to you, because all the things, go to a zone, play a zone, separate Renew and Ballo. We do those two simple things. We start hitting free throws. We shoot better from the field. We get better shot selection. Our defense is swarming. They could not get the ball in the post against us at all.
No, and they got in foul trouble.
We swarmed them in the paint defensively. We swarmed them. Yeah, and they're not a great three-point shooting team either. What did they shoot in the three-point?
From 3-point, they were 4 for 23.
4 for 23, 17%. Okay, I'll take 17% from the three-point line this day and age. If that's all a team can muster against you, and you can play good post defense, you're going to win.
Yeah, and Brian Wetter says,
by last night.
Brian Wetter says, why can we not play zone on a continuous basis? I would say this. In the past, we've seen individual games where Woody's done this, and it's worked, and they've won, and he doesn't do it again. Hopefully against UCLA, we will see this exact same game plan. Robert Stewart says the zone was an awesome call. And I think the reason we don't see it on a continuous basis, Steve, is because Woody was brought up to run man. I was going to say that. Yeah, it's
a night mentality of don't play zone. I'm a little prone to that too. I would probably coach my teams to play more man-to-man, but that's not how the game's played today. And that's the fault of bringing somebody 67 years old who played under a system that was as successful as it was. If there is one fault, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And
yeah, because an old dog can't remember what you just told him usually. And I'm talking about myself. So
yeah, and myself as well. But yeah, Woody is smart enough to recognize how well the changes he made worked last night, and we stay this route. You know, we can afford to lose maybe one more game, and then we got to still get a couple or two rounds into the tournament.
Well, I think you need to win the next two.
We got to make the tournament first.
I think if you win the next two and you don't lose to Penn State and Ohio State, those 4 wins would probably get you in.
With a showing in the Big Ten tournament.
Well, yeah, win a couple games in the Big Ten tournament.
Don't get blown out in the first game.
But I think these next 2 games are enormous. And at least now it looks like we're going to probably make the Big Ten tournament, which if they'd have lost the next 2 or 3 games,
it'd have been very tight. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was a great bounce back game from Rice and Ballo. You know, they both have struggled over the last few games. And I think Rice being a contributor to this team again, going forward towards the UCLA game, I think is a great thing to see here. And nothing against Trey Galloway, but a locked-in Rice, I think, is far superior to Galloway at point guard.
Mike, I'm okay with this lineup. I'm okay because Trey plays hard. Trey makes a lot of mistakes, and he doesn't score. What, he scored 6 points last night. He only had 1 turnover.
Yeah, but
which is a record for him. But
playing hard and making mistakes.
I like putting Goody and Galloway to start the game, and now I liked last night. Now you got Renaud and Rice. You got 2 tremendously good players coming in, meaning you don't drop off when you substitute, and you keep the momentum going. I think if you start Renaud and Rice and then try to go to Galloway and Goody, you have a little drop-off, especially with
Galloway. How about this? Not necessarily a drop-off, but I think Renaud and Rice, if they're playing well and they're good with this, they bring energy when they come in. Well. They bring energy when they come in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Galloway and Goody bring energy to start, too.
Yeah, so do I.
I liked what he did last night. I liked, Mbako continues to be probably the best player on the team, even though he only had 7 points last night. He's the most influential consistently. I think Balo is the most influential, but he's not consistent. He does seem to get tired quicker. Leal, he's hard nosed. Goody and Galloway, I think, give you a good threat. Galloway goes after everything, and Leal can shoot it lights out at any time. By far, Galloway still Goody had the most minutes, 35 minutes played. So, and then Miles Rice had 35 minutes as well. So, I like the lineup. I don't have a problem bringing Renew. Remember what the old adage, Mike. It's not who starts the game, it's who finishes the game.
And also remember this, if you're not playing well, sometimes the best thing is ass meets bench.
Ass meets bench. Like Coach Knight said, greatest motivator in all of college basketball. Ass meets bench.
All right, Steve. And once again, only 9 turnovers. Yeah. Points off turnovers, Indiana won 13-10. That right there is about the difference in the game. Rebound-wise, we got out-rebounded 36-31. 12
that came early, though. That really – they were up huge on us early.
Well, they were up 18-8 when we played man. And the other thing is this. I think this team rebounds much better in a zone. Yes.
I agree.
So, and like I said, I just think with this team and with Balo and Renew, I think they're going to be much more productive all the way through a game if you're playing a zone and they don't have to work as hard on defense. Not that you don't have to work as hard in a zone, but you really don't. Yeah. Let's see. Brian Wetter says Mbako needs to be a consistent 18-point per game scorer.
Love to see that.
Yeah, he does. And last night, he only scored 7 points.
But everybody stepped up.
I think this, though, when you watched him last night, you watched this entire team, the effort level is something we have not seen.
How many shots did he take?
He only took, I think, 3 3-pointers and 4 2-pointers. He only played 13 minutes.
Yeah,
so
why did he not get – did he get in foul trouble?
Okay, this is the thing, Steve. You can't complain about it because you were complaining about Goody not getting
playing time. I'm not complaining about trying to figure out why he played so few minutes.
Well, I think it was because he did have a couple good games, but if you're going to play zone defense, I don't think he's a good man defender, but I think he might even be a worse zone defender. So I think you're better off with Goody or Tucker, and Tucker only played 7 minutes. I still think he needs to play longer.
It worked.
But, yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, I just think Mbako has a tendency to get lost maybe even more in a zone defense from what I saw than he does in a man defense. Yeah. So that's why I would think it was down to 13 minutes. And remember this. I mean, he started the game, played the first 4 or 5 minutes. They switched to zone, took him out of the game. So after they switched to zone, he only played 8 minutes the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I can come up with. I may be completely off base. It may be completely something else. But that's what I call when I look at him.
Yeah, I just want to make the point. Indiana didn't stumble into this win. Indiana just outplayed Michigan State.
Yeah, and also Michigan State's not that good.
No, they are. I looked at them last.
If you look at their schedule and the teams they
watched
played,
them play UCLA, then I watched this game. They're overrated. This is not one of his better teams. The most great thing was he didn't become the all-time Big Ten leading game winner against Indiana.
It doesn't really matter because he's.
I know. It's something fun to put on the show because had he won last night, he would have broken Knight's record of beating Indiana.
Well, and the thing is this, Steve. I saw Bob Knight the other day. They were talking about his 900 wins. Yeah. And then Mike Krzyzewski got his 900 win. And what Bob Knight told Joe Buck was this. He said, yes, Mike Krzyzewski may win more than 900 games, but I was the first one to do it. So I think that is very, apropos, as they say. And even though Tom Izzo broke his record, number one, Tom Izzo is a very good basketball coach. He's a classy guy. He does things the right way. If somebody's going to break Bob Knight's record, you want it to be a guy like Tom Izzo.
Yeah, you know who else said that kind of same phraseology? And I partied with both these guys at one time. Neil Armstrong said it to Buzz Aldrin.
What did he say?
Doesn't matter who. We both walked on the moon. I was the first one to do it.
Technically, wouldn't the cameraman have been first?
No, there was no cameraman.
There was no cameraman? And how did they get the video?
camera? This isn't ESPN.
So you still believe that we actually walked on the moon, but yet have never went back in 50-some years?
I don't know. I had lunch with Neil Armstrong and then vodka drinks with Buzz Aldrin. Buzz is a partier. Buzz is still alive.
Yeah, maybe we call Buzz and get him on the show, see what he thinks about Indiana basketball.
Neil Armstrong didn't have 5 words to say to anybody. He's the most quiet, reserved man I ever saw in my life.
All right, Steve. So, yeah, when we talk about Michigan State, though, I watched them lose to UCLA. I don't think UCLA is that good. UCLA is beatable.
Oh, very much so.
I think this.
They
I think
made a run.
the best teams in the Big Ten, for my money, are Purdue and Michigan. I mean, and we saw Michigan beat Purdue last night. Of course, Purdue 191-64.
Yeah, well, right now Michigan's got a 1-game lead in the Big Ten for the outright.
Well, it's a half a game. Half a game lead.
Is it only half? Oh.
Yeah, it's a half a game.
So there's 13-3 and 13-2.
Yeah, and I will also say this: if you look at Michigan State, I think Michigan State's about to go on a run of losses again because they go to Illinois next. They host Purdue. I think they're going to lose both games. They go to Michigan. They go to Maryland. They host Wisconsin. I mean, Michigan State only has one game where you can look at it and say they're going to win that game the rest of the year against Iowa.
Yeah.
So they got to finish the year hosting Michigan. So they got a home and home with Michigan. They've got to go to Maryland, which is, I think, the third best team in the Big Ten. I think Illinois is up there when they're completely healthy. I don't think that they're completely – I think they're completely healthy now, but I don't think they're back to where they were probably 3 or 4 weeks ago when they bludgeoned IU. Okay. But also, when we look at this, I mean, I think Oregon is a very winnable game. Purdue's – all these games are winnable. And I think that's the thing that was so frustrating about Mike Woodson coaching this team, because you look at the talent on this team. It's just like 2 years ago. They had a good season, beat Purdue a couple times. But that team with Hood Schifino and Trace Jackson-Davis should have been more than getting embarrassed in the second round by Miami. Brian Wetter says Matt Painter on pace to eclipse both Izzo and Knight. And I could say the same thing.
Painter's on the career plan.
Remember this, though. Knight did it first. Yeah. And the other thing is this: if Matt Painter breaks that record, I think Bobby Knight would be fine with that, because
and while
Matt Painter's a good dude.
While Knight was doing that, he also was winning 3 national championships.
Yeah.
So shut up, Brian.
Well, you can shut up, Brian, about Michigan State, who's only won 1 national championship. Yeah. But the point is, they have 1 more game. But you could also make this: there's more teams, there's more games to play now.
Yeah. Well, even Izzo said that. Izzo said, yeah, I'm beating his record, but I've got an extra year and a lot more Big Ten games.
He also said he'd rather trade those for the 3 national championships.
3 national championships, yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. It's a great accomplishment by Izzo. It'll be
Izzo, it's the last thing on his mind. Right now, it's getting his team ready to play in the tournament. That's all he cares about. And I think we just need to control our own destiny as best we can right now. Get ourselves in position to not be a first 4 in if we can. You know, we still have a long way to go.
Steve, right now, I promise you this, Steve. Right now, I would jump all over being first 4 in.
Sure, yeah, I would, but let's see if we can avoid that. Right now, I don't see the schedule based on how a lot of other teams are playing right now and how Indiana played last night. It's 1 game.
It's just 1 game.
Let's see if they can back it up Friday night. If they back it up Friday night, I'm going to feel a lot better because we can beat Purdue at IU.
All right, and if we look at UCLA the past couple of weeks, they beat USC at USC. They'd lost 6 games in a row. Then they beat Washington by 5 at Washington. They beat USC at USC. They blew out Oregon, which everybody's doing that nowadays. But they beat Michigan State by 2 at home. They beat Penn State by 24 at home. Last night, they lost by 5 to Illinois. UCLA is a beatable team. Mick Cronin is their coach. He's a solid coach, but his teams never really shoot the ball that well. They don't do a lot offensively. And I think this is a game where if you come out in a 2-3 zone with the proper lineup, I think Indiana can run them out of the building. And if you do that, you put yourself in the position to do something. Right. And if you look at UCLA, you know, in that game the other night, you got guys like Sky Clark at guard, 9 points, Dylan Andrews, 9 points, Tyler Bilodeau, who had 25 points. He's the forward. So Malik or Ballo or McKenzie, one of them guys got to shut him down. Kobe Johnson's a good guard. They're basically a 3-guard team with 2 big forwards. I think they're probably about 8, 9 deep where they really play guys, but they struggle shooting a 3. But they are a really good defensive team, which could give IU some issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I think if we can hurdle and get by UCLA and Purdue, the rest of the games the rest of the season are definitely winnable. Penn State, Washington, Oregon, and OSU. Those could easily, not easily, but with the same effort that we had last night, turn into 4 wins. If we can get by, I mean, this is doable now all of a sudden. Last night was a big turnaround for this.
The scariest game here to me is at Washington. Just because it's the West Coast.
First road trip that far away.
You got to play Washington and Oregon, and I don't think either team's that good. They're both teams Indiana should beat.
It does affect you.
Yeah, but I think this. You cannot lose the Penn State game at home on February 26th, and you cannot lose the game at Washington. Yeah, you have to win probably at least 2 out of the 4 games that they have left between hosting UCLA, Purdue, Ohio State, and going to Oregon.
Yeah, it affects me just like I get a phone call at 5 in the morning. Hey, it's Mike. It's 8 o'clock here. I just had a slab of ribs for breakfast.
What have I ever done?
Walk my dog 10 miles.
What have I ever done that, Steve?
You want to do a show at 9 o'clock your time or 10 o'clock?
Steve, I don't eat pork. And I texted you. It was not a call because I figured you were asleep. All right, we got another comment from Brian Wetters. Luke Goody, key to keeping team focused is his opinion, his experience, and a good team leader. I agree. I think he plays hard all the time. He's not the greatest player in the world, but he's pretty damn tough. Why did he yank
him so quick? Did he make a mistake or something?
Well, he played more than he's ever played before, I think, last night. He yanked him 4 minutes into the Anyway, okay, all right. So anything else about the game? We've kind of beat a dead horse here. There's no dead horse. This is not a dead horse, Steve, because we won.
We won. Okay. It's a chance to dance.
We're beating a live horse today, buddy. We're beating a live horse.
I like that. I got to send that to Clark Kellogg, my buddy Clark. Chance to dance.
Yeah. Clark Kellogg doesn't even remember you.
Oh, yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't because he's older. He's a
little bit older. He remembers me?
He's a little bit older than you, too.
Because I just walked up to him and I go, hey, Clark, how's it going, Clark?
He's going to say, hey, my class ring looks like that from high school.
Yeah. He said, no, my 4-carat diamond ring I bought while I was in college from the alumni.
So when you go to Walmart, do you wear your ring?
I don't go to Walmart.
Well, when you go to the store,
California doesn't have Walmarts out here. I mean,
we have in the store. Everybody's got Walmart, Steve. Don't be stupid.
No, there's something that California tried to keep Walmarts out here because they wouldn't hire anybody full time. Walmart has a tendency to only hire part-time employees. California didn't like that, so out here, where in Indiana or in Ohio, it's all Walmart on every corner. Out here, it's Costco's.
We got a new comment from Troika.
You can't take a corner without bumping into a Costco.
Troika says, finally driving aggressively to the rim. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for listening, Troika, or watching. Whatever.
Yeah, no, they were aggressive the entire game. I agree. They went to the rim.
How about this? They played to win that game. They chased down rebounds. I mean, they fought for rebounds. They dove on the floor. You know the sad thing about this whole thing? The best game they played all year. And you know what? The only reason I watched most of the game was because Robert, one of our listeners, texted me. And I'm like, damn, I forgot they were on. And then what really pisses me off is Peacock. And I don't mind paying the $6 because I'm not somebody who's going to bitch about paying $6 to watch a basketball game. But once I figure out, hey, it's 15 after 9 and this game's already started and I use down 18-8, I log into Peacock and you see that little buffering circle. And that lasts for like a minute. And then it'll pop up that there's going to be an ad for 15 seconds.
Yeah, please
and then the ad starts buffering and it takes about 20 seconds.
Yet, but
then it runs down and it comes on and then it buffers for like the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, but during the commercials, I just flipped over to the Traders. Great show, great game.
Show. What are they trading?
They trade bodies and souls.
Do they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is this?
You're either a faithful or a traitor.
What the hell are you talking about, Steve?
The game show, The Traders, with Anthony Cumming. Never
heard of it.
No, it's great. I'd never had either until about a month ago. Then I flipped through 3 seasons of it. Now I started watching The Friends from season 1, episode 1. 10 years of it I got to get through now. Anyway, let's get back to it.
You're so white. You're so white. It's disgusting. What?
Let me ask you a question. All right, we're done with basketball. We're done with that. We feel good about last night. Our mission is to sustain that effort against UCLA and show it wasn't a fluke, right?
Yep.
Okay. And if everybody plays like they played last night, we will have a better than 50% chance of dancing, I believe. We have a chance to dance.
What's your question?
Do we have any kind of legitimate shot at Dusty May?
I don't know. I would say this. I've heard rumors that Michigan's starter is already going to signet him, which means they're already going to give him a bigger contract for more years. So I think that you have to deal with that also. I don't know how bad Dusty May or how much he dreamed about being the head coach at Indiana basketball.
Yeah, we
I would
don't know
assume
that.
it was a fair amount. But also, if you're Dusty May, hell, you didn't get the job. You had to take the Michigan job because Indiana didn't want you. They wanted to keep Mike Woodson. Maybe it's a big FU to IU to stay at Michigan. I don't know.
Is it they wanted to keep Mike Woodson or they felt obligated to keep Mike Woodson?
It doesn't matter. Either way, you had Dusty May and you let him get away.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Dusty May should have become the head coach after he went to the Final Four.
If Dusty May shows interest, does IU just pay him whatever he wants and grab him now?
Brian Wetters read the same thing I did. Michigan trying to lock him up. I don't know if they've got enough money. I mean, they could. I mean, if they go out and throw $14 million a year for 10 years at him, I'm sure he'll come here.
Between Ned Fowl and Cook, they got enough money alone right there.
Well, then do that. So, I mean, they could. I mean, the other thing is this. Are you that sure about Dusty?
I'm just trying to anticipate questions our loyal, beloved fans, and I think even Brian would ask this question. Is Dusty the answer to Indiana basketball? We never know for sure. I get that. Don't come back with that crap. But on paper, does he look like the coach we would love to see coach in Indiana? A little bit of loyalty and ties to Indiana, but a young coach who came up in the new system, understands nil and portals, and seems to have a way with players and gets them to play. He turned Michigan around from 5-27 to where they are now.
Yeah. 18-5, 19-5 with a shot to win the Big Ten.
Never won in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Robert Stewart said his family lives about 15 minutes from Bloomington. I'll tell you what, if my extended family lived 15 minutes from a school, I would never coach there. So it's just according. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. And there's still all the other candidates that are being mentioned, too. I know they talked about that on the program last night. Started going down a list of all guys that were potential good fits. They mentioned the Iowa State coach first, and they mentioned the Ole Miss coach, although they did say he comes with some baggage.
I'll still say this. I think the absolute best hire outside of Dusty May has been McCollum. I'm not going to argue it. It's just I'm going to tell people this.
Yeah,
when Farmer Fran gets fired at the end of the season, if Indiana doesn't have Ben McCollum, Iowa will. And let me know in 5 years how much you wish you would not have had Ben McCollum, because he will cause IU issues.
Iowa State coach or
he's the Drake coach.
Yeah, okay. I still have a little bit of hankering for Hoiberg. I mean, he's got Nebraska going to the dance probably.
One time. Not this year, they're not going.
Well, the projected 10 teams in the out of the Big Ten going to the dance.
Well, are they one of them?
That was a prediction that they had on one of the shows.
So Nebraska was one of them?
10 Big Ten teams going dancing this year, they say.
Yeah, but was Nebraska one of them?
Yes, Nebraska was one of them.
Because Nebraska's going to play
with
Maryland.
The big red end, right?
Huh?
They've got the big red end.
Yeah, they got the big red end.
Okay, then that was Nebraska.
And they're 8th in the Big Ten right now. And
8th out of what, 18? So they're in the top half.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. They beat Oregon at Oregon, but everybody's doing that now. They beat Washington at Washington. They beat Ohio State. So actually, they're trending in the right direction. I think if they were to beat Maryland tomorrow,
yeah,
that would damn near wrap it up for them, because the rest of their schedule, they still play Iowa, Penn State, Minnesota. That should be 3 wins there. So, yeah, Nebraska should make the tournament again.
Okay. Well, and that's a lower end number. I don't think Hoiberg is on the radar screen near the bullseye, but he's probably somebody that would be a fringe idea. If he's got some ties to the Pacers. He's got some ties to Indianapolis. He was a favorite Pacer player for a long time. So, whatever.
I don't even remember. I remember him being on a team.
I think that Got Woodson will change to Mayday.
You mean the little midget troll down in Florida?
I'm not going to Justin Baloney and whoever the chick is, Deadpool's wife, whatever her name is.
What the hell are you talking about, Justin Baloney?
But he's the one that got into trouble with the good-looking blonde who's married to Deadpool. Blake Lively. I live in Hollywood, man. I read about.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Written on the toilet papers out here.
All right, hold on, Troika. Before we leave, we'll read his question or comment. Dusty would do well at IU, but I think with IU's NIL and other program support, there are a lot of coaching options that could get the program to where we want it to be. The problem is this: you are correct, and somehow we ended up with Mike Woodson. So
yeah, right now Nil and Portal are a wash.
And if anybody says Steve Alford or Michael Lewis, they should be spanked.
I heard somebody mention Alford. I thought, are you nuts?
Yeah, he's about to be fired in Nevada, and Michael Lewis is 10-12 in the MAC. So.
Yeah, neither one of those. I think if we go back to anybody directly tied to, other than like a Dusty May, who was he even a grad assistant or just a student manager?
He was a student manager.
Okay, then he cleans socks and jocks for.
Yeah, he doesn't anymore. So he went to the Final Four.
No, he has people clean his socks and jocks.
Yeah,
but and God bless the managers worked harder than anybody on our team. They were there an hour, 2 hours before we got there, and they were there an hour, 2 hours after we left, and they drove to every game while we flew.
All right, guys. What is the next game? Friday night?
Friday night. It is. I don't know where it's on. It's.
That would be a National Fox game on Friday night.
Yeah, that's why I tell you the Big Ten is better conference than the SEC. Big Ten is on Fox. It's on NBC. It's on Fox Sports 1. It's on CBS. We played on ESPN. We have played. That's the Big Ten games are on all those networks. We're on Peacock because a lot of Big Ten teams are on Peacock.
That's nothing to brag about. All right, the SEC network's on everything too, by the way. So they've got their own network also, and they're on all the ESPNs. Really? You know why that is? You know why you think that? Because you live where Big Ten teams are, and you don't watch the SEC. If I'm Billy Joe Bob living in Arkansas, I think that I don't even know there's a Big Ten network, and I just watch the SEC.
Let me give you some advice. People out here in LA don't give a shit about the Big Ten or UCLA or USC. They don't care. When UCLA went to USC to play down in Compton, the stadium wasn't half full.
They played in Compton?
Yes.
Did anybody do a crip walk after they won?
USC's down in the Compton.
Did anybody do a crip walk after they won?
I probably did. I'm not going to go that route. Compton is a nice area.
Have you ever driven through, Steve?
What?
Have you ever driven through?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been to Compton.
Have you ever stopped and got out?
Yes. It's a safe place. I wouldn't be there if the riots were kicking up.
I don't think there's any safe places anymore, but
not in LA. There's not.
I mean, hell, Gary, Indiana is probably worse than Compton. I don't know. There's not many people left in Gary.
I don't know. Some woman was getting on the interstate, the 105 yesterday, and somebody riddled her car with about 75 bullet holes.
That's pretty awesome.
Killed her. Nobody knows why.
Well, probably no reason, or they thought it was somebody else.
Probably making a movie, and the guy forgot to.
Probably a crip the day after Serena crip walked at the Super Bowl.
Boy, I tell you what, I watched the documentary on Kennedy. That was no single shot in that thing.
That was a
JFK?
Conspiracy.
Huh?
It's not a conspiracy when it's true, Steve.
No, this was
a conspiracy. The conspiracy was the Warren Commission.
This was a documentary where they got a hold of the doctors that treated him at Parkland.
Yeah, I've seen it before. It's a couple years old, I think.
Yeah, they told completely different stories.
Yeah, with the exit wounds. Yeah. Well, hopefully they won't redact everything when they finally release it here.
Yeah, anyway, we're getting off on a tangent. Go IU! I was all
right, guys.
Last night. It was a good win. I think it's a chance to dance. I'm coining that phrase. I'm three-peating it. I'm going to patent it right now. The chance to dance, and I'm going to make me $4 or $5 million.
Steve, you think you're the first person to ever coin the phrase chance to
I've never
dance.
heard that phrase before.
Let's see.
You're looking it up, aren't you?
Yeah. Ooh, there's a Chance to Dance Studios.
Okay, but that's dancing.
Yeah, I also spelled it wrong.
Ah!
I need to do. Ooh. Ah, man. I can't even spell.
Don't you dare go patent it.
All right. Just did.
You can't do it that fast.
Just did it. Yes, I did. Did it. Sorry, done.
The Donald and Elon.
Do you know who coined the phrase "the big dance"?
No.
Al McGuire.
Al McGuire?
Yeah. So now you're just like Al McGuire.
Who coined March Madness?
I don't know. Probably Al McGuire. He did everything.
He was genius.
Probably the smartest man outside of Albert Einstein ever.
I got to meet Al McGuire through night one time.
He was a nice guy too.
A great guy. He called our game.
Too.
He and Packer and Musburger called our game.
Well, actually, in '76, wasn't that Indiana's toughest game on the road to the Final Four, the Elite Eight against Marquette? I think they were the number 1 and 2 teams in the country. Yeah. All right, guys, we will be back.
Bo Ellis. Remember Bo Ellis?
Well, yes, I remember Bo Ellis. Said, who was the other guard from
He had a really
Puerto
good
Rico?
guard. Can't remember who it was.
Who the hell was it? Because he shut down Phil Ford in a '77 championship game. Bo Lee.
Boston is going through a sell. Boston's owned by the town.
Huh?
Boston going through a sell. Miller may want out.
Who's Miller? Does he mean
I
Stevens?
think you mean Brad Stevens. But Boston's owned by the city. It's like the Packers.
Do you think so?
They sold shares of the Celtics.
Because everything I know is W.C. Grossbeck is the majority owner of the Boston Celtics.
So he's selling his shares.
He is selling his family's stake, which is the controlling stake in the team. So, Steve, this is our chance to buy the Boston Celtics. If we could get Robert and
we just got to get the show monetized on YouTube.
Yeah, that'll do it. We should be able to buy the Celtics then. So I think we get everybody that sent in a message. We all just go together, buy the Celtics. Then we're going to fire Brad Stevens and make him go to Indiana and coach.
Yeah.
And we're going to name Steve Risley the new head coach.
No, we'll just sell his contract to IU.
Yeah, and it will make you the head coach of the Celtics. It will prove that anybody can coach an NBA team.
No. We'll make you head coach of the Celtics.
I don't want to do that. I would probably.
I don't want to do it either.
Yeah, I would do it. I mean, just because they've got like the most talent. So I just roll the balls out and prove to everybody that you can win.
I don't want anything to do with
all right, guys. We will be back sometime after Indiana destroys UCLA.
Congratulations to IU, to Mike. I thought it was one of his best coaching jobs of the year.
It was his only coaching job of the year, Steve.
No, he's had other good games.
Like which one?
I can't think back that far.
There aren't any.
They played Purdue pretty good at Purdue.
They lost.
They played him good.
They lost.
They played him good.
They lost.
And
they turned the ball over 20 times, and they shit down their legs in the last 2 minutes of the game.
I think the biggest takeaway from last night was it gives us hope that we can pull this off and win 7 of the last, what we got? 7 games left, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left. We should be able to win 5 of those games.
Sure. All right, Steve, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up. What? Okay, Steve, this is the thing. They should be able to, but they also should probably have 18 or 19 wins right now. The problem is this.
Your wife cooking ribs again? You got to go eat?
I don't eat ribs. My wife had ribs the other day. I stopped eating pork like a few months ago.
Why?
Because I don't want to. It's unclean.
The other white meat.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
You don't want to eat chickens right now because they all got bird flu.
You know, when I talk to you sometimes, I really wonder if the Kelly School of Business is really that important. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap the show up.
Hey, Mike, do the letters F-O mean anything to you?
Frequently outside? Yes, I'm frequently
outside.
Say
goodbye, Mike.
All right, guys. Follow Steve Risley.
When are we coming back?
34. We will be back Saturday at like noon.
Noon. Got to be noon because the The Daytona race, first Daytona race, is on.
Yes, and I don't want to miss that.
Well, you don't, but I don't. You don't care, but I care. All right.
Okay, you and like the guys that stuck in the
I
catch
don't care if
fence.
there's only one of three of us. The three
There's
of
like
us
9
care.
of you. Robert
I guarantee you, Ryan Peters cares.
Robert cares. Joe
Robert
cares.
I guarantee you, Joe. What's Joe's last name?
Spillman.
Spillman cares.
Yeah, all the white people care. All right, guys.
See, we are not a racist show. Take that back.
That's not racist, but it is pretty much white people. No.
Take it back.
No.
Retract that.
No. So I'm going to retract it. NASCAR might have some rednecks in it.
Probably like Kanye West.
Who's Kanye West? Oh, didn't he bang a Kardashian? That's an easy guess because, they banged everybody. All right, guys. Follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. Make sure you follow me at Grilling Truth. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grilling Truth.